Chapter 14. The Lost Chord. A voice of longing cries out of every human soul in moments of unforgettable loneliness. It is a voice that is felt, not heard, and some of it is released through the haunting strains of music. Others hear it through the flaming colors of a sunset or the awakening splendor of a dawn. And there are those who are most aware of it while shouldering their way through crowded throngs. Some sense it in the vibrating rhythm of the ocean wave or in the vastness of a rolling sea. Some are gripped in the loneliness of that wailing inner echo as they gaze upward in a star-flung sky. Some hear it in the softness of filtered moonlight as it melts into the shadow of the trees. Others may hear it as they gaze upon the heavenly expanse of a misty, floating cloud, or in a flower-spangled meadow, or a blooming orchid, or from some lofty mountain peak, or in a silent heart of a rose. None have ever lived who have not felt the haunting refrain of that lost chord, moaning out its unforgettable echo of lamentations as it sighed forth its desolating loneliness at some moment or other in their lives. And there are those who hear it often as they yearn intensely for they know not what. And one and all try to silence the halting plaint as it sobs forth its heartbreaking burden of uncomprehended sorrows from some long-forgotten memory or world or lost existence. That lonely moan was my cradle song. It was the only music of my childhood as it was picked up and re-echoed by the winds wailing across the drab, sage-covered hills. I would not escape the lonely, forlorn, melancholy chant of forsakenness and desolating pain that seemed to expand until my whole life was filled with the hurt of its despairing sadness. And for that I am most grateful. I had no choice but to listen. There was no way for me to elude the desolating echo of those unrecorded tones as they played their lonely dirge upon the fibers of my being. And so it was I learned the lamentation of the soul's despair. I began to comprehend the meaning of those wailing tones as I struggled to master them. And in my experiments I rearranged the sequence of each note as I played the complete refrain in breathtaking reverse. It was in my rearrangement I discovered the great lost chord, and the powers it contains, and the unutterable glory of its true rendition. All that is necessary in order to change that lonely chant into an exquisite harmony of infinite power is to express the same tones in praise, love, and gratitude. Then the strange lost chord becomes a symphony of unutterable beauty, which is no longer lost within a man's mortal being. It becomes a triumphant masterpiece of dynamic, harmonious accord. That lonely, melancholy chant of sadness, echoing, outbidden out of each man's soul, is but the unfulfilled, unexpressed, scrambled tones of the great lost chord as they are released without skill or understanding. It is like the exquisite notes of a masterpiece, being tossed forth at random without harmony or reason in directing them. The notes may be all there is, but there is no lovely melody expressed, only tones of saddened harmony. The lost chord, in its correct rendition, contains the wondrous tones of creation. The lost chord embraces the vibrations of love, praise, and gratitude in their most dynamic, powerful intensity. In the soul's lament of dismay, this superb masterpiece of power is played in reverse. The triumphant symphony of creative glory is played backward through the mortal instrument of man. In this negative release it becomes a refrain of desolating loneliness, the reverted expression of a sad, thwarted soul. Within the three major tones of love, praise, and gratitude are held 100 little rills of glee and happiness, singing in joyous accomplishment. That lonely cry of the human heart is a melody of creation being expressed in its negative form as it is released with an empty echo of forgotten meaning and lost power. Yet within the lonely, unforgettable inner lament is held the powers of creation and the keys of fulfillment when understood. The notes need only to be rearranged. In that yearning, inner cry, the tones of the lost chord will be heard if only the music is transposed. That inverted song of triumphant fulfillment and everlasting power becomes a plaintive wail of the soul's frustrating despair when its reversion is permitted to go forth unmastered. The lost chord holds no sadness, loneliness, or forlorn, melancholy reproach of longing ache and searing desolation when man's consciousness takes hold of it and turns its note around. Then it becomes a sublime, wondrous symphony of creative glory. The lost chord of creative power and fulfillment contains the three major overtones of love, praise, and singing gratitude. As stated before, within each of these three dynamic tones is enfolded an independent melody of sublime, exquisite, exalting power. Within this dynamic lost chord, all the full powers of creation contained. That lost chord has only been lost within the physical nature of man. Now to analyze more fully the splendor and the power contained within that famed lost chord, that you might become the master of it, or the dynamic expression of the symphony of creation in its three major tones. Each measure must be more thoroughly explained in order that these prodigious powers might be placed within your hands. Gratitude contains the eternal law of increase and the complete power of divine multiplication. All blessings are increased when placed within the powerful vibrations of sincere thanksgiving. All the spiritual powers of plenty and increase are contained within the unutterable glory of that singing gratitude when released from a thankful human heart. The prayer of thanksgiving is the law of plenty as it swings into activity. Through deep gratitude, the fullness of supply begins to be discharged in increasing abundance to more than fill the measure of one's own needs. Gratitude is the essential vibrating part of the everlasting glory of creation as it is released to play its own part in the great symphony of the universe, the creative song of fulfillment, the triumphant new song of all power. It is a simple matter to master this dynamic vibration of everlasting glory and power and so prove its unmeasurable worth. One cannot prove its powers just by reading this record and agreeing with it any more than one can become a musician by enjoying the performance of an orchestra. One must practice sending out these divine rays of gratitude right within himself as he works to master the greatest of all harmonies. One must play it upon his own being until it becomes a singing part of every thought. It must become a heartfelt reaction to every happening, a song of release for every minor gift and blessing, regardless how small. Only the gift of appreciation fully releases the power of gratitude's exquisite tones of stupendous glory. In the mastery and release of this great power of gratitude, one must lift his vision completely above his lack and even his possible destitute circumstance. He must not look at the things he does not have, nor concentrate his vision upon his deficiencies. He must lift his eyes to behold the things he does possess and give praise and thanks for them. The gratitude must issue out from the innermost center of the soul for every tiny gift and blessing. He must learn to rejoice in every meager comfort and for every mouthful of food. He must be thankful for every necessary holding entrusted to him to take care of his needs. As he gives thanks, he will soon begin to receive the benefit of luxuries, and if he will but continue in this release of heartfelt gratitude, all his physical wants will be supplied, and the spiritual ones will follow. He will automatically grow into the richer blessing of divine fulfillment. He who is thankful in all things shall be made glorious, and the things of this earth shall be added unto him 100-fold, yea more. The prayer of thanksgiving contains the law of plenty. If one only has a crust of bread, it can be increased into a loaf. Perhaps not instantly, but it can. This is the same law Christ used in feeding the multitude. It is the law Elisha instructed the widow to use in increasing the supply from her small crust of oil to take care of all her needs and to purchase her freedom and the freedom of her sons, and then leave her with an overabundance. According to one's perfecting of its use will be the measure of time required to fulfill the law of supply in all its completeness. It will begin to work immediately for anyone who will exercise its power, though perhaps not in its fullness. But as one continues to use and practice the law, it becomes powerful and in time instantaneous. The law can work in an instant if you will master its full technique. The time element will be according to your own faith as you learn to perfect and use the law within your own being. As you begin to live by this higher law, you will soon know of its power and be able to use them freely and fully. The law of increase is a living, eternal law and more unfailing and more powerful than the law of planting and harvest. Suppose you only have $1 or even a dime to your name. Use the coin for your needs with a singing gratitude as you release it with joy and thanksgiving that must come from deep within the heart. When this law is used perfectly, there can be no worried glances cast toward tomorrow as you invite its fears to take over and to rule. The great glorious song of gratitude and true thankfulness must hold the vibration of your being so high that you can take no thought for tomorrow. As you continue to use this great unfailing law of gratitude, you will establish a supply to furnish your most urgent needs. If it was $1 you sent out with your blessing of thanks accompanying it, and it increased 100-fold, you may complain that $100 in this day is not very much. Well, that is true, but as you continue to use the law with that $100, they can be increased by 100-fold or the equivalent thereof until your blessings are all multiplied in conformity to your own understanding. The law is eternal, and the supply from which it draws is unending. This law of gratitude is a divine reality and an everlasting power, but each individual must make use of it for himself. It cannot be fulfilled by a slack, haphazard, lackadaisical method. It must be worked with earnestness and intensity until it becomes absolute knowledge advanced into power. When this law is used, there can be no curse upon one's possessions, for one will have taken God into partnership with him in his very venture. And God himself will supply the increase until there will not be room enough to receive it. No man ever needs to cheat his fellow man in order to gain the comforts and luxury he desires. He is only to fulfill the higher law, and all things will be added unto him. As one works or lives this law of supply and increase and fulfills it with joyous, understanding persistence, it will become a vibrating reality issuing forth from his own soul at all times. Love is another measure from the lost chord of creation. Love is the law of transmutation. Love can so exalt and transform every adverse condition and the individual expressing it that they take on immortality. Every individual who perfects this symphony of love will be lifted into a vibration of triumphant loveliness and beauty. Love is a law that can lift one from a mediocre individual into a master. Love conquers the negative condition of one's nature as well as his exterior world. Love transforms the powers of darkness as it converts their energies into the creative rays of powerful, glorious, exalted existence. Love changes doubt and fear into living, vibrant faith with all its power and complete fulfillment. Love's power is unspeakable when it is intelligently used and continuously exercised. It can accomplish the impossible. Within the power of love is contained all joy, all happiness, and all perfection. No one can possibly become hidebound or sealed in orthodox self-righteousness or bigotry, or become a repulsive or domineering person, or a failure who develops love. Love is the outpouring energy of the soul that perfects the gift of faith, and then releases it into its limitless capacity to perform the greater works. Love perfects the obedience that yields all personal desire to the will of God, and so blends the individual into the pattern of his own divine fulfillment. Love is the purifier. Love fulfills all the laws as it is enhanced and completed by gratitude and praise. Love in its fullness will transform every living soul who perfects it into a child of light, endowed with gracious poise and majestic power. Love must be practiced constantly, not in words, for words cannot carry the glory of its divine reality into their empty sounds. Love must be exercised as one would practice in order to become a great musician. He must open his heart to permit love to flow out as he sends it forth to enfold the world. The fountains of love increase as love flows forth. Love contains the full power of healing and of renewing. Love is of God, and it is truly the fruit of the tree of life as it is shed forth through the hearts of the children of men. Praise, the third dynamic measure in the famed lost chord, contains the law of fulfillment. Praise releases the vibration that complete and fulfill all things and all conditions in the individual who lifts his heart in joyous singing praise. It is the triumphant Hosanna, shout of old, the exalting shout of glory. It is the complete acknowledgement of God. It is the tones of singing, creative fulfillment in their fullest measure of release. Praise is that glory to God, vibration that is sent forth from an overflowing heart bursting with joy. That new song, which none can learn but the righteous, contains these three dynamic vibrations expressed in their fullness. This is a dynamic sound of creation. It is the celestial symphony of the universe. It is the heavenly lost chord of all power. Praise, love, gratitude are the major overtones of that divine, exalting anthem of eternal triumph. And surely none but the righteous can master it, but he who does master it will assuredly become righteous. These released tones are the transforming, exalting, fulfilling tones of creation. Master them, and you will become a master. Remember, gratitude is the law of increase and multiplication. Love is the law of transmutation, as it transforms conditions and things. It has the power to translate the individual who perfected into a higher order of existence. And praise is the law of completion and of divine fulfillment. It is the hosannas, shout of victory, in glory to God. Combine these three major vibrations of praise, love, and gratitude into a symphony of exalting glory as they are released from your heart instead of from your lips. The tongue has no power to express these great vibrations except when the heart so overflows, the lips must cry aloud. If they did not, the very stones would be called upon to release the vibrancy of their unrestrainable power. As one masters the divine symphony of creation, he will have the power to step forth into the realm of supreme achievement. Then it is that one is fulfilled or filled with the fullness of God. This new song must be continuously expressed as it is released from the individual in vibrations of exalting glory until he becomes a very part of it. For he who can interpret the wonders of the Lord will be dissolved and will become that which is interpreted. This new song must wing its way out of the joyous releasing from human hearts until it conquers the darkness and overcomes the fears and the lacks and the discord and dismay and transforms them into the boundless powers of full achievement. Each individual who desires to participate in the greater works must become a greater musician as he masters every note and tone of the sublime symphony of creation, the celestial song of the universe, the new song of dynamic, unutterable power. He must be able to express its tone so perfectly, not one vibration of negation can ever again touch him. No fear or doubt or confusion must ever be permitted to sound forth their discord of destructive disintegration within his being. The soul must stand forth in its full majesty to sing the dynamic anthem of creative glory in the fullness of its divine power of celestial fulfilling. This divine symphony of creation, held within these three major tones of that sublime lost chord, contain the complete law of levitation as explained in Christine Mercy's booklet, Sons of God. As this song of creation becomes the reverberating, stupendous vibration released from within the individual so that no discordant, negative notes can possibly enter or be released through his being, with their deteriorating destructiveness, one truly overcomes the earth-binding law of gravity and mortal limitations. In the book Secrets of Eternity, the three great rays are designated as colors and are described as being the Christ rays. These three major colors are known to be the foundation colors from which all others are formed. These rays are living vibrations, the vibrations of creation as viewed by spiritual eyes. These same vibrations are the great tones of the lost chord when heard by the ear that have been exalted into their fullest functioning. Vibrations are the true reality behind creation and all existence. Gratitude, when released from a singing, grateful heart, is a vibration of limitless power. It is visible to spiritualized eyes as the ruby-red ray of Jesus Christ, Son of the living God. It is the ray of courage and acceptance and increase. Praise releases the golden ray of glory, the vibration of triumphant overcoming, as it fulfills all things. The third major ray is the divine, exquisite blue ray of Christ. It is impossible to describe here the vivid aliveness of this transcending color of divine glory. It is beautiful beyond words or human utterance. It is known as the Christ ray of faith, or love in its fullest expression. This ray is brought forth by the individual power to believe or to be and live according to his highest hopes and purest vision. As one believes the higher teaching, he develops a dynamic blue ray of faith. This divine blue ray of faith holds within it the key of absolute knowing. And knowledge is power. This is the power needed to transform all the ugly, sordid conditions of life into beauty and loveliness, and to translate a man from a mortal creature of weakness and ills into a being arrayed in the powerful vibration of everlasting light. These rays are vibrations that are released from within a man as the pure Christ light is brought forth from within. These three major vibrations hold the entire spectrum of living colors within their holy embrace. These are the three major colors from which all the other shades and tones and hues are formed. These are the living vibrations of limitless power when released from within man. These rays, when sent forth knowingly, are unlimited. They ascend to the throne of God instantly. There is no power in existence that can retard them, hold them back, dim or deflect them in their course. They create and hold open the channels along which God's blessings flow back from the throne of all fulfillment. They are the open windows of heaven through which stream forth man's blessings, and these blessings continue to increase and to multiply as long as the channels are held open. They continue to enlarge until there is not room enough to contain the wonders of their supply. These three rays are the channels along which the answers to your own prayers will come. Open these channels and you will walk with God. These three major colors or rays are but the vibrations of that divine Christ light as it is released in its fullness measure from the heart of man. Within these rays is held the completed glory of the full spectrum and every glorified hue and color. These same released vibrations are also the tones of sound on which this record speaks. These three major tones of the divine lost chord hold within their vibrant release every note of purity and beauty, and the full, exulting joy of the soul as they wing their way forth from an overflowing human heart. Gratitude, praise, love, that is expressed in the complete belief of living, powerful faith, are the three Christ rays of vibrating, everlasting power. They are the three major tones of the dynamic symphony and are known as the Christ keys of creation. Within their holy scope is held the celestial song of the universe, the dynamic, fulfilling, triumphant symphony of breathtaking power. The entire force of creation, the new song. These three major tones have been known as a lost chord because they have been lost within the physical being of man. In his awakening, they will be released to open the door to a new spiritual world as man advances into the complete fulfillment of himself. For it is given to abide in you the record of heaven, the Comforter, the truth of all things, that which quickeneth all things, and maketh alive all things, that which knoweth all things and hath all power. Yes, these things and these powers have been given to abide in man, but man has permitted them to become lost, and so has remained unfulfilled. And so it is that from within his own being comes that lonely, haunting cry of mourning. To the eyes that have become spiritualized, these vibrations appear as color. To the ears that have been trained to hear, they have heard as the vibrant tones of living sound, even the song of creation. They are the same vibrations, whether registered upon the eyes or upon the ears or upon the whole wondrous being of man. They are the dynamic vibrations upon which the universe was laid. They are the vibrations by which it is maintained. They are the vibration of creation. These three major vibrations and all related ones are expressed both in color and in sound and in invisible powers of eternity. When man is completely spiritualized, he passes beyond the five mortal senses, and instead of gaining information through his eyes and his ears and his nostrils and taste and touch, he gains his knowledge with a complete awareness of full comprehension. Then it is that all physical senses are united with the spiritual ones into the full dynamic instrument of all knowing. Yes, all that the Father has is yours to use and to fulfill.